Conference. It was a 0-0 tie. Providence ranked 5th. The final, Brearley 19 and New Providence 16, but it took them 5 overtimes to do it. It was 0-0 at the end of regulation, and so that meant these two teams had played 8 consecutive quarters of scoreless ball. They went into the 8-minute overtime. It was still scoreless. And then, holy cow, they couldn't score in 9 quarters, but at the 10-yard rule, could they put some points on? Steve will have details, and he will speak with Bobby Teller a little later on, but suffice to say that everyone was on the edge of their seats at New Providence as the Brearley Bears come away with the victory, 19-16. They will move on to the Group 1 championship in North Jersey Section 2. And as I said, in just a few moments, Steve will have details on the game and an interview with the winning coach, Bob Taylor.
And the other thing that Steve mentioned, Bob Taylor, the head coach of the Brearley Bears, is now in our studio, and he's joined by Steve Mayer. Steve?
I guess I just wish that everybody out there could have been at that game today between New Providence and Brearley. Clearly an outstanding contest between two great teams, and I guess it's a cliche, but you have to say it's a shame that one team had to lose. Bob Taylor, the winning coach, has joined us right here on the set of Scoreboard, and congratulations, Coach. What a great game.
Thanks, Steve. It certainly was an exciting game, and I think you depicted accurately when you say it was a shame that the fine effort that New Providence put in out there had to go unrewarded, but our kids are very excited about just participating in such an exciting high school football game. There were courageous plays all over the place, and I think the fans were really treated to some quality football.
Let's just preface the highlights we're going to see by talking about the first time the two teams met, and that game ended in a scoreless tie. You knew what you're really getting into coming into today's contest, didn't you?
Well, anytime you play against Coach Batone's teams, you better be ready because they're a quality football program. And we've played them 4 times now, and in the first 2 games, the last 2 minutes of the game, the outcome was decided. In the 3rd game, it was a 0-0 tie, and, you know, in the last couple minutes, we were still confident that the outcome could be decided. And then, of course, today, just such an exciting finish, and I guess our kids really enjoy that type of competition because we held up when we had to and made the plays we needed to win the game.
All right, let us take a look at today's action. Remember, the teams had played 4 scoreless quarters coming in, and we'll start it off with you on the move right from the start.
Yeah, this is Joe Capizano on a quick pitch play. We knew that they'd be coming down hard to stop Mike.
And that set up a field goal attempt, but a great block.
Well, they do a nice job. That's a great individual play by Drew Marquette, and he's a fine athlete.
Their defense was strong right throughout. Here's a 4th down play they stopped.
Yeah, Jeff Norris, who's been having great games for us the last couple of weeks, got stopped there, and it was just a fine effort.
But your defense came through with fine efforts as well.
Great pressure there by our front, and then Mike, of course, who's a super athlete, just makes the plays when he's got to make them.
So at halftime, we're still at 0-0, so that's 6 quarters now scoreless. And then a couple of problems with punts, first by New Providence.
Well, special teams play a big part in big ball games, and Scotty Miller's one of the finest punters in the area, we think. And they had some trouble because the ball got up high with Scotty. Here, Joey has a little trouble, and actually Joe's been a solid citizen for us back there all year, and there was a little bit of currents up there on top that threw it off a bit.
All right, and here's a big interception for New Providence in the 3rd quarter, an interception by Joe Verico, but New Providence was not able to score. And here's an anxious moment for you, Coach, as Scott Miller's punt is blocked, and New Providence had great field position right there, but they failed to score.
I really felt that was one of the bigger plays in the game because Scotty back there had 2 New Providence guys ready to block on that return, and he made a very big tackle that really allowed us to take that thing into overtime. So Scott's been playing some great ball for us as a punter and in the defensive game especially, and we're real proud that he hung in there tough and allowed it to go further.
Now, you talked about a defensive game. Certainly, now, through 8 quarters, nobody has scored in this rivalry. The defenses today both played so well.
Yeah, and they hit, too. There was some great hitting out there. And I'll tell you, comparable to any of the ball that I've seen. Our last 2 games, I think we have come up in our level of hitting, And New Prov, I mean, they had some kids injured, too, and I have to give them a tremendous amount of credit. Coming into the game a little shorthanded, but, boy, not shorthanded in heart in any way.
All right. Now the story is that in the after the game is completed, we go to an 8-minute overtime period, and we'll take a look at some of the highlights right there. And basically, the big highlight in this overtime period was Mike Liberato. He just carried relentlessly. He gained 40 yards on one drive at New Providence, held the ball 5 minutes and 18 seconds. He's a good runner.
You know, it was overtime, and we never had the ball. The sudden death part of the overtime criteria was a wash for us. They had a great drive. Mike did a super job running the ball, which we knew, you know, coming in we had to stop him. We're blasting him all over the place with great hits, but he just keeps on coming.
And that set up a field goal attempt for Matt Simpson, 32 yards out, and it goes wide to the right, and we go into a second overtime.
Well, we actually reached a point there where we were playing defensive ball and kicking, because at that point that was our strength, and we knew we had to continue to play the criteria. We had, as a staff, I felt, I'm really proud of our staff. They did a great job. We met, we discussed the overtime criteria, and I thought we prepared our kids very well for, you know, a unique situation. We had won a game back in '81 in Glen Ridge, which was a great ball game in an overtime situation. So we had been through it before. We told our kids, we prepared them for it, and I think it paid off. Our guys were really cranked up out there. As the game got longer, we got more excited about our opportunities to and our chances of winning the game.
All right, now let me tell you exactly what happens. After the 8-minute overtime, we go to overtimes in which each team gets the ball from the 10-yard line. 4 plays to get it into the end zone or kick a field goal. New Providence happened to get the ball first in the overtime. So if they were to score, Brearley would still have a chance to either tie it up or go ahead. Well, here we go. We'll move on right now to the second overtime. We're going to show you every play from every overtime, because if you weren't at the game, you deserve to take a look. And right off the bat, New Providence just running the ball into the middle, and they had to settle for a Matt Simpson field goal. This put them ahead 3-0.
Yeah, they ran the ball with Liberato, and we countered with our defensive wall and our 2 linebackers, McCoy and Chilinsky. We come back with Mike Chilinsky here. Mike's a power runner. We've got some real fine blockers up front there. Mike's given us every inch in his body trying to work it up and over. And, of course, we're very confident in Mike Vergora. Mike Vergora is a Pat St-Pierre product, and I know many of the football fans know Pat is a great asset to many of the young kickers around the county and actually around the northern area of the state. And, you know, a little aside here, Pat was on our field Thursday afternoon, and it was pouring down rain. And I said, Pat, you can take the kickers into the gym. We have the net set up. And he said, well, Bob, if you get bad weather, they got to be ready to kick. And Scotty Miller and Mike Vergora and Pat Olenek, our other kicker who at the time is injured, have really received a lot of great coaching from this guy, and we're very appreciative.
All right, now we are tied. Both teams have scored. It's 3-3, and we head to the third overtime, and more action for New Providence with Liberato, and we'll watch as Mike gets a handoff and moves about 5 yards on the play.
Mike gets a seam there. We weren't happy with that, and we shut it down. We went to keep on that one.
And then right there
he goes.
That touchdown. And that one put New Providence ahead now 9-3, a big touchdown. And the extra point here by Simpson was no good.
We thought this was a break for us because we felt as though, you know, being on defense was important. We knew what we had to do when we got the ball. We go to Chilinsky a little bit, and of course we're a veer team. We break Joe on a pitch there with Bobby Canterman blocking, and doggone it, we thought we had it in. So we moved Canterman over to that side with Hubbinger and Miller, and we bring it in with Foucher.
And here's the extra point, and there is a big play by Marquetta again with the block kick, and that one would have won it for you, but instead we'll have to go to another overtime.
Right now the kid was becoming a nuisance, to be honest with you. I mean,
that's one kid you're not invited for dinner, huh?
That was a great play, and you know, I know many of their kids from the camps that we do in the summer, and I'll tell you, they're a credit to Frank and his staff, and you know, it was a great session on the field afterwards, after this game, because so many of our kids just really respect their guys, and that's truly what high school ball is all about.
All right, so if you're following all of this, we are now tied at 9 apiece, and we head to a 4th overtime. And in the 4th overtime, New Providence goes right at it with Liberato.
Yes, they were showing us a lot of different sets here, and now they feel like they're going to go to the option. And, of course, we have to adjust each time. They go 8-man front, and they throw a ready pass here, and we don't get enough of a piece of him, and it really is a great play.
And the extra point by Simpson is good, and now we've got a 16-9 game, and you're forced to bring it into the end zone. And we will see one of the biggest plays of the year, I'm sure, for Brearley coming up, as here is Sholensky getting it down to the 5, and then one more time for Mike as he brings it right down near the end zone, and it's 4th down, Coach, and this is the play.
Big play here, and we knew they were jamming us with Mike real well. We knew Gary, you know, has a great ability to read the option, so we had to make the guts call and go with Gary Foucher, and well, we appreciate his efforts there.
This time Arquette doesn't block the kick, and instead Vigora hits it, and now we are tied at 16 apiece, and there's another overtime coming up. It was really incredible. We were on top of the press box. Both coaching staffs were there. You can just feel the intensity. The crowd would grow quiet. Then the crowd would go crazy. Really incredible. And if you were neutral, which I have to be, it was just, you could feel it. I mean, the intensity was certainly in the air.
There was a great crowd reaction. That was so much a big part of it. Everything that happened on the field drew a tremendous reaction from either side. There was a beautiful crowd, and there were really, really terrific plays being made by the guys all over from both teams. So it certainly just got more and more intense as we got deeper into the scenario here.
All right, here we go. 5th overtime. This is the one that Bob Taylor and his coaching staff and all the people in Kenilworth would just love to see watch it, as New Providence has the ball first.
How about that by Mike Liberato? A great run on a sweep, and he gets it to the 5. So now we're really up against it. But we play great defense here. We got Scotty Miller over there and Brett Hubbinger. There's a great play by Brett, backed up by our linebackers, Chalinsky and McCoy, and we're swarming the ball.
And here is Simpson for a field goal attempt. It looked like there was some trouble with the snap.
Well, it was from the hash mark, too, which made it awful tough on the young guy. And that's why when we had our opportunity here, we go to it right away. Middle of the field, 1st down, let's kick it, let's go home.
And there it is. And let's go home is the word from you, and you're going home with a victory. And next up, it's Roselle Park. You know, it's interesting there because Frank and I, you know, we greeted each other very warmly there, because you feel like two warriors after a 0-0 game. We walked on the field and we said, you know, Coach, your fans probably thought you were terrible. My fans probably thought we were terrible. But I thought it was a great football game. Hey, I have to agree with both of you. It was a great game. So to have this decided in such a dramatic fashion, you know, between these two programs, you know, conference participants, they had won the conference. And, you know, our kids have played real good ball, but we don't have anything to show for it. We have 7 wins now, and there's no titles. So we had to be hungry, and we had to go after this club and try to take a share of what they had won, and at least in our own minds have a bit of a championship. And, of course, now we do have an opportunity to be in a championship picture, which is one of our goals as soon as the season begins. So now it will be Brearley against Roselle Park on December 6th. A great game today. Once again, the final score was Brearley 19 and New Providence 16. Just a footnote to the game. A couple of years ago, in fact, 3 years ago, New Providence was in the state final, and they went scoreless through the entire game, went to overtime, was scoreless in overtime. Same situation as today. They lost to Cedar Grove 3-0, and then once again today, defeated in the state playoffs in 5 overtimes. So tough luck for New Providence, but a big victory today for Brearley. Once again, congratulations to Bob Taylor. We're going to take a short break, but be back with more scores on Scoreboard right after this.
Match of last year's championship game that was won by the Brearley Bears, and Brearley repeated the feat this season, recording a 28-7 victory at the expense of the Roselle Park Panthers. Brearley finishes 9-1-1 on the season. Roselle Park finishing their year at 9-2. It is the third state title for the Brearley Bears under head coach Bob Taylor, winning the crown in 1981 last season. And this year, Bob Taylor will be joining us a little bit later on in the show. He'll be joined by Steve Mayer, and I'm pretty sure that Steve Mayer's first question will concern the very first highlight we're going to show you right now. We turn our attention to Brearley's first possession. It is 4th and 2, and the Bears pull a fake. The snap, instead of going to Scott Miller, goes to Mike Chelensky, and Chelensky has enough yardage for a first down. Mike Chelensky, the outstanding junior running back for Brearley, had a tremendous day. 28 carries, 161 yards, and he would score 3 times on the day. Here he goes one more time from the I formation. Chelensky up the middle. He, on the day, crossed the 1,000-yard mark. As much a credit to him as to the offensive line. And here he is, 2nd and goal from the 3. Chelensky scoring the first points of the ball game. Mike Vigura adding the 7th point. And Brearley leads 7-0 in the first quarter. Now we move to the second quarter. The score is still 7-0 on a 4th and 2 near midfield. Roselle Park tries on the 4th down, and they do not make it and turn the ball over on downs to the Brearley Bears, and that turns out to be a big play because Brearley then starts their own move. Gary Foucher, the fine junior quarterback for the Bears, who had 145 yards on the ground, picked up some yardage there, and again showing the play they showed so much today, the fake to Chelensky, and then Foucher moving outside. Foucher, 21 carries for the 145 yards, but Chelensky capped it off from 1 yard out, and it was 14-0. We now pick up action in 5 minutes later, exactly the give to senior running back Jeff Norris, and Norris scores just before the half, and it was 21-0 in favor of the Brearley Bears. Third quarter action, a little bit of a strange play out of the back of the playbook. The pass from Steve Scribano to Mike Small. He laterals the ball to Phil Carpenter, and the old hook and ladder is good for 81 yards, and the only points that Roselle Park would put up on the board. Roselle Park now in possession in the 4th quarter. The snap to Scribano, but he can't hold on to the football. And coming onto it is Mike Chelensky for the recovery. And several plays later, Chelensky would cap the scoring with this short 2-yard burst, and that would be all she wrote on the day for scoring at 28-7. However, on the ensuing kickoff, it appeared that Roselle Park might get back in the ballgame. This is Phil Carpenter. Remember, he showed some speed in scoring the Park's only touchdown. Here he breaks one up the middle. He looks to be gone down the left sideline. Joe Capizano got a hold of him and also got a hold of his face mask. So you add on 15 yards of penalty. Roselle Park is driving, trying to cut into the margin, but this pass from Scribano is intercepted by the same Joe Capizano. Pretty much atoning for the face mask penalty just moments before, and Brearley is able to hold on to the ball and thus pick up the 28-7 victory. Incredible stats on the day. First downs, Brearley 18, Roselle Park only 1, and that was on a penalty. Rushing yardage, Brearley 336, Roselle Park 35. Brearley ran 65 offensive plays, 33 of those in the second half. Roselle Park only 27 offensive plays, and 10 of those were in the second half. So you can see that it was a ball control game for the Brearley Bears. Roselle Park only had 107 total yards, and remember, 81 of those were on that hook and ladder touchdown pass. So the Brearley Bears capture their 3rd state championship and their 2nd consecutive title in Section 2, Group 1, beating Roselle Park by a final score of 28-7. We'll now move our attention to North Jersey.
Joining me right now is Bob Taylor, the head coach of the Brearley Bears, and today, Brearley with a state championship, a win over Roselle Park, 28-7, and congratulations, Bob. A job well done. This has been the game that you've been shooting for ever since you lost to Roselle Park in the 4th game of the year, and now that it's over, your thoughts?
Well, you're absolutely right, Steve. When we were 3-1-1, things were looking a little grim to many people for the Brearley Bears' future. But we didn't feel real good about our performance that day, especially in front of your TV audience. And we made a pact that Sunday night with our kids that, you know, we as a coaching staff didn't really have a good game plan for them, and they as a team didn't play real well. And if we kind of got our act together and made a commitment to work hard for the remainder of the season, we could get a shot at this club again. And it was very gratifying to have that opportunity today, and of course to take advantage of it as we did.
Let's talk about the game itself. You go for a fake punt early first quarter. That's a pretty interesting call early in the game. Why'd you do it?
Well, we have a lot of confidence in that play, and you know, that term has been used tonight by one of the other coaches, and that's Mike Chilinsky, and we feel as though anytime we put the ball in Mike's hand, with Bobby Canterman pulling for him, Michael Ramos blocking down, Brett Hubbinger was man-on-man on our tackle, we have a real good opportunity of making a successful play. They had made a great play on a fake punt in our earlier ball game, and maybe we just wanted to kind of get even with them for that play by Phil Carpenter in the earlier matchup. But I thought it was a real sound call, and we were prepared for that, and we prepared all week long to make that call.
Now, just from watching the highlights, it looked like one of the bigger calls of the game was that Roselle Park went on 4th down and 2, and you came up big on defense.
We played a really exciting defensive game plan, and I think our kids really rose to the occasion on this particular day. We had a great, what we consider a work-like attitude going into this game. We weren't going to play the big psych. We weren't going to get excited about the game. We wanted to go to work every day on a practice field. We wanted to go out there today in workman-like fashion with a good work ethic and play a good football game. We were embarrassed by our first performance against this club, and we felt as though they didn't respect us as we like to be respected in football. And some of the statements that we saw come over the tube, we weren't real happy with, and we kind of sensed that the false sense of confidence based upon that first game. And I think it was an advantage to us today.
You're ahead 21-0 at halftime. Now, by some standards, that might be comfortable, but I'm sure you knew that you had to come out in the second half fired up as well.
Well, the interesting thing about that, and you having Bill Horry on the color, was a great reminder for us all week long, because Bill's team in 1977 had us in the same position, had us very comfortable at halftime with a 12-0 win, and that son of a gun comes out and beats us 18-12 for a state championship. And when Bill came on the field this week to prepare for the color commentary, I mentioned that to the kids, and when we talked about it at halftime today, they knew exactly what to be ready for in the second half.
Now, you were probably ready for the pass in the second half. Were you pretty confident that here's a situation where you take away Roselle Park's run?
Well, we had a great run defense. We thought we were very sound versus the run. And in our nickel package late in the game, when we know they have to throw the ball, we can be very effective. And as you saw, Joe Capizano just made an outstanding play. And it was like we were turning the hounds loose up front. Tommy Ramos and Bobby Canterman especially had a great game. Scott Miller and Brett Hubbinger, the guys up front did a super job. Our coverage was there. And this is truly a team victory for our kids.
Let's just talk, though, about some individuals. Gary Foucher had a great game for you. Again, Mike Chilinsky had a great game. And you really were able to run the ball right at the park.
You know, Gary's a key to our offense, and he has been all year in a very quiet type of way. He's a very intelligent guy, and he's a calm, cool, collected customer back there. And he can take the heat and come up, and, you know, he lands on his feet all the time. He made some great fakes out there, and it was very difficult to determine whether Mike Chilinsky had the ball or not. And I've got to say that I'm very proud of our offensive line, who you always credit for a 1,000-yard performance. But Mike got his 1,000 today, and it's the second time in his career. Got 1,000 as a freshman in the varsity schedule, which is very unusual. And I have a quiet confidence about myself every time I walk next to Mike in the hallway, because I always say to myself, I know they don't have one of those. And it's a bit of it's a good feeling knowing that we have such an outstanding gifted athlete as Mike in our program.
You say you know that they don't have one of those. Well, what they don't have also, again, is a state championship. You're second in a row. It must be very satisfying.
Well, to defend is really satisfying, because we found out very early in the season that people want you very badly, and they play very well against you when you are the state champion. And to defend, I give so much credit to, you know, to the union programs and the programs that are able to defend, because we found out this year that it's not easy, and we're so proud that our town and our communities of Kenilworth and Garwood can now brag about the guys that represent them in football is having 2 in a row.
Bob Taylor, the head coach of the Brearley Bears, today they won the Section 2 Group 1 championship with a victory over Roselle Park 28-7.
Bin number 2, Union 3. And here's a flip-flop, Paul, from last week.
Brearley taking over the 4 spot, Roselle Park falling from 4 to 5.
And the rest of the, well, we'll give you 9 of our top 10, JFK, New Providence, Harrison, and Montclair. And the reason is we ran out of space. There it is, a 3-way tie for for number 10.
Scotch Plains, Belleville, and Verona all finishing at 6 and 3.
All right, now we had 2 games which we televised in their